meeting back to order, please. The first item on the agenda is to go out of closed meeting. Do I have a motion, please?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Gabriel?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Chair Velez?
Aye.
6 ayes.
The next item on the agenda is to certify our closed meeting. Whereas the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County has convened in a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, whereas Section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia requires certification by the Board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County, Virginia hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion conveying the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Board. Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Gabriel?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Chair Velez?
Aye.
6 ayes.
The next item on the agenda is our invocation. And at this time, I'd like everybody to please stand and reflect on the business before us tonight, and also reflect on the families in Connecticut that had such a tragedy. And now, if Mr. Meadows will please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next item is a delegation by the Mountain View Humane Society. Mountain View Humane.
Thank you, Chairman. I won't take up very much time tonight. I know you guys have a long list of wonderful things to do, but our primary reason for being here tonight is to say thank you. In July, for the audience who may not have been here, the board approved a $30,000 subsidy fund to help with the cats getting fixed in Montgomery County, and the public heard you loud and clear. The day after you approved that, we normally have 50% dogs, 50% cats on any given day. The day after you approved that, the calls went to a point that we're doing 70% cats, 30% dogs. So the public in Montgomery County is listening. For a little bit of a history, we know that spaying and neutering is the answer to the euthanasia problem in America. It's not only the answer morally, it's the answer fiscally. For every child that's born, 7 puppies and kittens are born, and we just can't adopt our way out of it. And it's a problem for the entire community. Sterilization is the best defense not only against the overpopulation, but also against health risks and the costs of unwanted animals. And we've seen that dramatically in our area. Here's where we get fun. To date, the Walden Reese Clinic on Main Street has done over 11,000 surgeries. 53% of those are animals which reside in Montgomery County. For every 1,000 procedures we perform, 500 fewer animals will come into the shelter over time. So every number that we do is important. In the subsidy program that you funded so far in the last 5 months, we've done 1,015 cats. If you've never seen 1,000 cats, you really don't want to. But we have seen 100 or so at a time. It's amazing to me how people want to do the right thing if the funding's available. We will finish the 1,100 as promised early next month, probably not this week, although we've got a lot coming in this week. And 242 of the ones we've done so far were cats that were actually free roaming, meaning that we tracked them, we ear tipped them, we vaccinated them, all free of charge to the person whose property the cat lives on. This is a little video, and it was amateur video, but we provide TNR services, trap, neuter, and return services in a variety of areas now because of this fund. And so we contacted managers of apartment complexes, trailer parks, you name it. Once people found out that we were willing to come out and trap cats on their property and fix them, the people started calling. This is a video of a trapping that we did on someone's farm. I think we trapped 20 or so cats, and she's releasing one of the kitties. That one had actually been trapped before. We've been trapping there for a little while. And so when we trapped that one, it already had the ear tip, so we just released it and let it go back. But there's all of the traps that we got that day in the back of our truck. We have a transportation vehicle provided by Bergland that we use to go out and pick up in low-income areas and on farms and anywhere that there's a colony of cats or anywhere that we can get a bunch of owners to say, come here, we will go to pick up animals to get them fixed. There's probably 20 or so cats on that truck. The lady in that video is Bobby. She's our office manager. We don't have a staff really for trapping, and so our team, as well as some volunteers, actually volunteer to go out and do this in their spare time, which we know we all have so much spare time.
Run, kitty,
We
run.
do, however, get a few animals that we don't really want to trap. We've seen a few raccoons. There's a possum coming up here in just a second. If you've never made a possum mad,
Oh, God.
Oh.
I don't recommend it.
They hiss.
But this little guy is a little ticked off. Bless his little heart. Needless to say, he didn't come into the truck with us. We'll skip the rest of that. To pursue a true controlled population, meaning we're not going to euthanize for space reasons, we need to fix 80% of the pet population. In this county, based on the census numbers, that's about 14,000 dogs and 18,500 cats. And that sounds like big numbers. But with this spay-neuter effort that Montgomery County has funded, all of these organizations have come together to work together as part of the spay-neuter effort. Animal Hope Alliance is helping with the trapping. The Humane Society of Montgomery County refers people and helps people find out about the program. Montgomery County's Friend of Animal Care and Control, we all know what they do at the shelter. And the vet school helps us with getting free surgery sometimes for folks who need them. And of course, Montgomery County not only provides this subsidy, but also has our information on the website. And through those efforts, as long as Mountain View has been here so far, we've done over 2,100 dogs and 3,700 cats. So we're headed in the right direction. That's 2 years of effort with 5 months of subsidy money. So of course, as much as we love to say thank you, and it is a joy for us to say thank you, you know I have to mention your next budget cycle, and we will be requesting funds to continue the CAT program and to continue offering this assistance to the citizens of Montgomery County. Every day we get the phone calls, and every day people say thank you. And they're saying thank you to you because we couldn't do it without you. And hopefully this year, and as far as I know, this is true, at the pound, we're looking at another year of 100% spay-neuter fulfillment for the dogs coming out of the pound, which of course continues to help the numbers for the dogs. So between the CAT program and what's going on at the pound, we're headed in the right direction as a county. So thank you very much for your efforts in part of spay-neuter. That's all I got.
All right, anybody have any comments or questions of Kelly?
Just thank you, and I think the word is really spreading because people are much more aware that you guys are out there, and and
Yes,
thanks for what you do every single day.
Thank you, and we're trying so hard to capitalize on that momentum, and every animal that we get a phone call about, we're finding a way to get it in the door. Finding a way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kelly, very much. The next item is public address, and we have one person signed up to speak, and that's Mike Faulkner. If you come forward and state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
I'm brief. My name is Michael Faulkner, and I'm a new resident here in Blacksburg, Montgomery County. I wanted to come this evening and talk to each of you. I don't know if you've had any plans or any thoughts as to what you would do to help benefit the people of Fairfield County. You may not recognize the name Fairfield County, but that's the county where Newtown, Connecticut is located. And we have friends and colleagues there who, right now, they're going through tremendously difficult times. And many of you on this board know that time. And I don't know if you've given any thought to sending them any special notices. My son attends Virginia Tech, and I know that they've sent a card and a banner. And I wanted to take some time this evening, and if you haven't thought about sending your condolences or maybe even any cards or any type of some sort of recognition of the pain and suffering that they're all going through to your colleagues of Fairfield, Connecticut, I wanted to encourage you and ask you to do that. They are where we were 5 years ago. And at the same time, too, I've given this a lot of thought, and I would really appreciate that you give it some thought as well. I realize that county commissioners and county governments and board of supervisors can't take what I would say to be firm legislative action with regards to the use of semi-automatic weaponry. I do. But at the same time, too, you have a very powerful voice, each of you on this board, and collectively, even more so. So when you're thinking about sending something to your colleagues in Fairfield, Connecticut, I would like you to give some thought to a proclamation denouncing the sale and use of semi-automatic weaponry. I am not anti-gun by a long shot. I was raised in the country, and I've had a shotgun all my life since I was 12 years old. But the lethality of these weapons knows no bounds. And this body, each of you, has a very profound and significant role, and maybe we haven't stopped to give it some thought, but I would suggest certainly the state, if not the nation, is looking to this county, for leadership. And I would strongly encourage you to give thought. I would ask, I would beg and implore you to give thought to announcing to every state, federal legislature across this country that here in Montgomery County, we do not tolerate such weaponry. Thank you very much. Y'all have a good evening.
There's nobody else signed up to speak, but I'd like to make a comment. I believe we're going to do a proclamation from the county to the people up in Newtown.
I would like, if I may, this evening, I plan on sending an email off to the Newtown United Family Association. I don't know how familiar you are with them, but I want to tell them that I went before my county government, and I implored my county government to take a stand against semi-automatic weaponry. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that for the mayor of Newtown, and I'm going to do that for the counties and to all of the key first responders. Because I'm a teacher, and maybe I should have known this, but I didn't. While I was grading papers this weekend, I saw one of our county sheriffs in this evening. But one of the tactics that's used, and I'm sure that they can explain it far better than I can, now is to immediately race into these shooting situations. And frankly, I give you all each a great deal of credit. I don't know that I could be in your shoes this evening, recognizing that these individuals go straight into the building, headlong into the building. They don't stop to determine how many shooters are in the building. They don't stop to determine the weaponry. They don't stop to even really determine where they're located. They simply enter into the building. And as a teacher, maybe I should have known this. I didn't know this until I saw the horrendous events of the past 72 hours unfold. But I would desperately need to know, at least by my code of conduct, that I did everything that I could possibly do to ensure the safety of those individuals. And Lord knows every county commissioner, specifically at the county level, all within the due diligence and capabilities of your offices, have a responsibility here to ensure the safety of these fine first responders. And if we don't speak up and take some sort of position, as a county, specifically as a county, this county, then shame on us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There's nobody else signed up to speak, but if there's anybody else in the audience who would like to come and address the board, you may do so. Seeing no one, we will close this public address session. The next item on the agenda is to go into work session. And do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Gabriel?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Chair Lewis?
Aye.
7 ayes. I mean, 6 ayes.
And the first item is the revenue recovery, Town of Christiansburg fee for service. And I'll give that to Mr. Meadows to start.
Marty, are you gonna?
Yeah,
Marty?
yes, sure. I'll say a few
Mr. McMahon?
McMahon.
comments. Trying to figure out what tab that was under for you guys.
D.
D. Yeah, under tab D, there's a resolution that was forwarded to us from the town of Christiansburg. And that resolution is specifically asking us to authorize the town to establish reasonable charges and bill customers and or insurers for ambulance service provided by the Christiansburg Rescue Squad. If you remember when this first came up, I don't know how long it's been, a few months, when the town of Christiansburg came in here and gave us a presentation on what they were planning to do, what they wanted to do. The issue came up on whether the county needed to approve that. At the time, I stated that under that section that's stated in the resolution 32.1.111.14, it appeared that the county did have to authorize that. We advised the town of that, and then the town, some time went by, and then they came back and agreed, and then forwarded this resolution for you guys to consider. This is not for approval tonight. That's not the intent. It's, I think the town would like us to consider it in the near future, but I'm not sure what time frame they have on it. I believe there's someone here maybe to talk a little bit more about the program, and if anyone had any more questions about what this resolution would allow them to do would be to bill not only in the town, but also they, and Carol can talk more about this, the Christiansburg Rescue Squad does a lot of calls out in the county. And so those county customers or county citizens who are served by the rescue squad, their insurance companies would also be billed. So it's not just in the town, but it would also be in the county where Christiansburg now responds. And just to give it some context, in the eastern part of the county, when Roanoke County comes in and does calls into that part of the county, they do charge, because they as well have a fee for service put in place for Roanoke County.
Marty, when they charge, do they, if the person doesn't have insurance and can't pay, what happens?
It's soft billing, same.
Okay, they do the same way there. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
A couple of things. I know that I don't think that Neil Turner was here the last time that Christiansburg drug coil came up. I'd like to get some input from Neil as to what he thinks the impact on the volunteers and their. I think Joe had mentioned that there was around 90% that was in favor of it. But that's something I'm very interested in and would like to see some, the hard numbers and what the volunteers think, because let's face it, they're the ones who put in thousands of hours. And before we go forward with the soft billing, I really would like to hear from them and make sure that this is something that they're in favor of, at least from my position.
Well, as I understand it, this is not us that is doing this. This is down at Christiansburg.
Right, but
they need our permission to do it.
Right, and I guess and it's going to affect not just town of Christiansburg citizens, but also, as I understand, let's say that the Blacksburg, I guess if they respond to a call in Christiansburg, is that, I'd like to know the details on that because I think there's questions.
Joe got Joe Coyle and Adam Carpenetti from the town who are here, and Joe may be able to answer some of that.
What was the specific question?
At one point in time, I think there was some questions about, let's say that someone from Blacksburg, volunteer, Christiansburg needs some help. They've got too many calls.
Sure.
They respond. Would that individual be billed?
No, not unless Blacksburg Rescue Squad also elects to do revenue recovery.
Okay. Because I think that was some of the questions that came up the last time that you were in front of it, and that was seemed to be one of the bigger issues that other volunteers groups were having with that they were going to end up being billed for the work that they had done and not necessarily Christiansburg.
No, we actually could not, and under law, we couldn't bill for that transport.
All right. And I know that Roanoke does, and so if we do help out, let's say Christiansburg helps out in Blacksburg, that Blacksburg citizen will be billed.
Yeah, their insurance company will get billed, that's correct.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
Joe, if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's when they use their ambulances, then that's when the recovery the fee would take place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Similar to what Roanoke County does with the Charlottesville, Elliston area. And you had mentioned, I think the last time you were here, around 90% of the volunteers were in favor of it.
I'm talking specifically about Christiansburg Rescue.
Yes,
I'm not talking about the volunteers in general, because there's not a wealth of support around the county for it.
Right. No, but I was talking about the Christiansburg Rescue Squad. Was it about 90%?
Yeah. What we've done, I've managed this expectation since coming in. It's something that we have to do, and it's not something that we put to a popular election or said. It's just what we've said. This is what's going to happen. We've had no real pushback on this. People have said, yeah, this is a good thing. So. And
did you have a formal vote to talk about it or discuss it? Because maybe I misunderstood the last time you did not. Okay. Thank you. Is that something that you said that this is something that you're planning on doing and that you want to do? And I guess what I'm concerned about is if we do implement this, and you had mentioned that it wasn't a problem with some of the other volunteer organizations, I just want to know how it's going to affect the current volunteers and that we don't lose all the hard work that they do for the county for free. So.
Anybody else have any questions?
This is more of a question for Marty perhaps, but can you clarify the code and why we would need to authorize the town of Christiansburg to do, to institute this, since it is entirely the town of Christiansburg decision?
Right.
But see, the way this is phrased, it makes it seem like we're doing this.
Right. I understand what you're saying, but as you know, we're a Dillon state, and
Sure.
you have to have enabling authority to do what local governments do. And within that section 32.1-111.14, there's the authority. It says, it first talks about counties and cities having the authority to set up this type of program that kind of Christiansburg wants to do.
Yeah.
And then there's a section in there that says any incorporated town may exercise within its corporate limits such powers. However, before they do that, the county in which they're located has to pass a resolution permitting such exercise.
So the way that this resolution is worded, it seems that if 5 years down the road, Blacksburg decided they wanted to do this, we would have to pass another resolution.
Right. Or we could actually pass a resolution setting up a fee countywide.
Countywide. Okay.
Joe, do you know the timetable that you guys are looking towards at this point? Adam, do you know the timetable?
Well, of course, a lot of this depends on new law. Once our, not to assume, but if you guys give approval, we're hoping for just a couple meetings time for our town council to go ahead and take formal action. They're certainly on board. There's a few things that we want to clean up with the vendor before we kind of proceed forward. I'm not signing a contract with the vendor until we get the authority from our town council to move forward. So we kind of have them on standby. We're kind of working with them on some small cleanup items. And so I would say once approval is given and a contract is signed with the vendor, it could be as early as maybe 3 or 4 months from that time period. So.
Has the town held a public hearing about this?
No, not yet.
They have not.
No,
Would
we're
they-
actually in the process of getting this ordinance drafted. And for quite a long time, we've been under the, I guess under the guidance that we have the authority to go ahead and do this ourselves. And we'll say at the 11th hour, going ahead and trying to get an ordinance drafted. That's when this kind of came up, and I know our lawyers were working with Marty to go ahead and get that done. So we kind of decided to take a pause and let's make sure we get this right. We're even at the latest of opinion of our, from our lawyers, we're not 100% sure that we do need permission. But instead of trying to figure all that out, we thought this would just be the easiest way to go. Make sure you all are informed as well, and have your support.
I would agree with him. The statute's not well written, and it's not very clear, but it certainly could be inferred that authorization is needed, and so I think that's probably the wise course.
Mr. Brown?
Chief Cobalt, you were in Roanoke County several years ago when they implemented the recovery phase. And from your experience there in Roanoke, it's been, what, 8, 10, 12 years ago?
Yeah, almost 12 years ago, yeah.
Almost 12 years ago. What was the impact on two things in Roanoke County? The impact on volunteers and members, and the donations to the rescue squad?
Good questions. I was actually a volunteer chief in Roanoke County for about 7 of those years after we did revenue recovery. And the impact on volunteerism was nil for the agencies that elected to manage it correctly. In Cave Springs, the agency I was with, saw no decrease in volunteer membership. What we did see was the ability to provide the equipment that we needed to staff the trucks and things like that. And your second question involved?
Donations.
Donations,
to the, yeah.
thank you. Other than 2001, when every public safety agency saw a drop in donations because the donations went north to New York and to Arlington, there was no decrease in donations from implementing revenue recovery. And that's based on our agency's experience.
Anybody else?
I just had a question.
Oh, go ahead. No.
My only question is, like, if this went through and you all do it, are you all going to keep some kind of record about, things that go right, things that go wrong, because if anyone else was interested in doing it later time, they'd probably be interested in knowing those kind of things.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know exactly how you would keep up, but I'm thinking specifically like volunteers, but also if any problems with citizens or coverage areas or any of that.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we've been drawing on the experience of Roanoke County. We've had one of their chief officers, Steve Simon, who's been really helping us doing that very same thing, providing us with this went well, this didn't go well, this is why you should do this is why you shouldn't do this. And so we've really been kind of taking cues from them, so we would certainly do the same thing. Absolutely. Yeah, the goal for this is really to tap into an existing source of revenue, protect the rescue squads, maintain volunteerism, support the communities.
And remind me, what you were going to do is you were going to have a vendor that's going to take care of all this for you, and then you pay them a certain amount of money to do that, but you're still going to be making more money than paying the vendor.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you get a vendor that's done this over and over again, has a good reputation, all
Absolutely.
that?
Absolutely. And that was actually one of the pieces of advice that Chief Simon gave us, was to make sure you pick a good vendor based on these criteria. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
The revenue projections is around, is it $600,000? Is it?
Yes. Yeah.
Is there any signs that because we are not doing the soft billing, that our citizens are getting lower insurance rates, or anything that we can see that this is going to end up causing any type of insurance increases anywhere? I know with Medicare, Medicaid, nothing like that, but with any other type of insurance carriers.
I was going to say from the research that seems to be coming out is that there's no indication that revenue recovery or EMS billing causes increases in premiums. As we all know, premiums are going up regardless of whether we're doing it or not.
Right.
So it sounds like most of these fees are already built into the policies.
Is there any sense that the implementation of the ACA is going to impact this at all? I mean, the models that, of course, we're using it before the passage of ACA. Is there any sense that this is going to impact either the amount that you'll be able to recover, or the ease at which that money will be recovered? mean, I would assume your vendors will be dealing with this. I'm just wondering if those questions have been asked yet.
It sounds like they're making some more strict regulations, but nothing around funding.
Okay.
Meaning that it would be more difficult to collect. And once again, this is one of the biggest reasons that we would put a lot of faith in bringing on this vendor. Is it's, you know, we're going to rely on them quite a bit.
Anybody else?
I'd just like to make a comment. I serve as a liaison to the Fire and Rescue Commission, and this is my 5th year, and we find, the members of the commission find that the equipment, trucks, ambulances, and I think we just spent, or in the process of spending over $1 million, I guess, for these breathing apparatus for
right at $1 million.
And what happens is that this board allocates a penny for fire and rescue apparatus. I mean, I don't know what an ambulance would go for today. Somebody says around $180,000 or something like that for an ambulance. And when you take that 1 penny for fire and rescue capital, it doesn't go very far when you look at a fire truck or an ambulance or whatever. And for years, looking for other streams of revenue to help support the equipment and whatever apparatus that you use and so forth. And all around us, I think Pulaski County, Ramsey over there handles Pulaski County, and I don't know how long they've been building in Pulaski County, Franklin County,
Bedford County.
Bedford. Yeah, Floyd and different others. And when looking at this, it's already built into your insurance plans. And what, I guess, what sort of convinced me was the need for the revenue, too, and the soft billing. That was really the key to convince me that in order to support this. Hopefully that in our county, Christiansburg Rescue, when they implement this program, will be the model for the other other 4 rescue squads in this county. And it's a time that the other 4 rescue squads are close enough to it to watch it, to see what hiccups that it brings, and then they can say, hey, these guys are doing great. Look what they got. Look what we could have. We need to jump on board.
Anybody else?
Just a quick last statement is that, you know, although this whole thing seems pretty reasonable theoretically, I mean, I would be personally uncomfortable moving forward, however, at this level, without at least a public hearing at the town level, and perhaps even inviting public comment at the county level more widely, because the citizens outside of town limits are going to be impacted directly.
Now, just I wanted to bring up, we have had several, we'll call them town hall meetings about this, but never a formal public hearing. We've sent out letters to all of our water, sewer, garbage customers. So approximately 11,000 letters have gone out. Various, I guess, website information getting sent out and that sort of thing. So we haven't had a specific public hearing, but like I said, town hall informational sessions. And surprisingly, we haven't had a whole lot of feedback, to be honest, good or bad. And I don't know if that's, you know, no news is good news, or maybe we're just not reaching out there enough, but we've kind of tapped most of all the typical resources of informing the public like we do with most anything else. We haven't heard a whole lot back, so we're taking it as no news is good news.
And I understand that, and but my concern is still that the perception is still going to be, because my understanding, if I'm correctly, Marty can correct me, is that we need action. We need to act first, the way that this part of the code is being.
Well, we'd have to act before they pass their ordinance, unless they pass the ordinance conditioned upon our approval. Now they have to have a public hearing, I think, to do their ordinance. Correct?
Yeah.
Do we have to have any kind of public hearing to?
No, sir, we're just a resolution.
Okay. All
Well,
right.
that brings me into a question then. If some of our county citizens are going to be affected by this, why would we not have a public hearing for them to voice whatever their thoughts may be, should one way or the other? Because, you know, yes, Christiansburg is the one that's at this point in time implementing it, but if they go into the county, which they do on quite numerous occasions, then it's going to affect the people within the county. So it would seem to me that we could at least offer a hearing. I'm in favor of doing it, but at the same time, I think people have the right to know, and you know, if enough of them come up here that weren't interested in doing it, I may change my mind. But I can't imagine that happening.
Let me add this. When Roanoke County builds down in your area, when they support the Elephant Rescue Squad, they come in when they need some assistance. We didn't have to have no public hearing to agree that they bill our citizens, did we? And when they come in to provide the service from Roanoke County into eastern Montgomery, and it affects our citizens in Montgomery County, we didn't have to have no public hearing to say, hey, Roanoke County's billing our citizens, we need to have a public hearing.
But the biggest portion of the things that Roanoke County is doing is interstate, which is mostly not our people. That's where the biggest help from them has come from.
But it would still be in our county.
It would be in our county, but not our citizens.
So I just throw that out there.
I have a question about the wording of it. At the end of it says, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors. Would it be appropriate to put upon the request of the town of Christiansburg in that?
Yeah, we could do that. We could also add something like hereby authorizes the town, should they, in their best interest, believe they want to establish reasonable charges. So you could make it a little bit more clear to kind of comment on what Matt said. We don't want it to look like we're setting charges. We're just basically saying, hey, town, if you want to do it,
right,
you have our blessing.
Okay.
That's a good idea. We could tweak that a little bit. This was sent over by the attorneys.
Okay. I didn't know.
Anything else?
So one question about the charges, like you wouldn't have a charge that would be so that insurance company wouldn't pay for that total amount, would you?
The fee structure that's recommended is to charge approximately 120% of the Medicare reimbursement rates. So they recommend 120% because of private insurance companies and those third-party private insurance companies that do allow for a higher charge. We could charge anything we want. We could charge $1,000 for a basic call, but that doesn't mean that's what we're going to receive. So plus then it would appear as though an out-of-pocket expense would be far too great. So the idea is to structure our pricing or fees around what the reimbursement rates would be. So that way it really limits the out-of-pocket expense.
Okay, thank you.
Don't we have different fees for different, like an ALS or a EMS or a paramedic?
Yes, sir.
They get charged higher by?
Yes, sir. There's a set structure. Yes, sir. Based on the interventions.
Okay.
Question. Time you say something.
Would you be quiet?
How does anyone know when they're someone coming to get them, whether they're EMS or
ALS.
ALS?
It's basic life support, advanced life support.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, when you've called an ambulance, and you really don't care who's on call.
Right.
Well, is part of this not on the call, the emergency, whether you're going to need a paramedic or not, or? Gary's asking a good question. How do I identify who to bring? How do you identify going from?
We identify who to send by what the nature of the call is. If it's a chest pain call or difficulty breathing, I want to send a paramedic, an ALS provider. I'm not sure if I understood your question correctly. The citizen wouldn't know on their end who's coming until they got there.
Yeah, and I don't know that that's really something that they need to know. But what I'm saying, you're talking about the price structure going up according to who you send out. And if you sent out someone who had a lot more knowledge than what these people needed.
Now I understand your question. I can answer that. The reimbursements actually aren't based on just who was on the truck staffing it. I'm sorry about that. They're also based on the medically necessary care that was rendered. So for instance, if I send a paramedic out and it's somebody who just wanted to go to the ER to get a prescription refilled, they're not going to get reimbursed for an advanced life support call. And paramedics have to only do that treatment, which would be reasonable and necessary. So yeah, that wouldn't occur. Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good question. Now I understand it.
All right. Anybody else? Thank you very much. And is this something we want to?
Well, my understanding is we'll bring this back to the board at an upcoming meeting for further discussion and direction. You guys are looking to us on this right now.
And I guess the consensus is, do we want to schedule a public hearing before we do the resolution, or no? I mean, it's not required, but it certainly is something.
It doesn't hurt.
Purview of the board to do.
How quickly could we do the public hearing and be able to give the proper notice?
Second January meeting?
Probably first meeting in January.
So the very next meeting?
Yeah.
We could do that.
The 28th. We'll do the 28th.
Yeah, actually, no, we could probably get it to the first meeting because we're at the third week and not the fourth week.
Yeah. 14, yeah. We just want to go ahead and get a public hearing scheduled then?
Actually, there's no requirement on how much we advertise because this is not a legally required advertisement, so we could do 1 week or 2 weeks. We do.
I think to be fair, we ought to do what we normally do.
I was watching the clerk too, but since it's not a legally mandated hearing, then we have flexibility on the.
Flexibility. If we can do it just one time, we have flexibility.
Right.
What we could plan to do is 2 Sundays. It seems like Sunday is the best day to advertise to get more people to read Sundays.
I sort of agree with Marty because this, with some of our citizens after thinking, this could be a little bit of a hot button issue. If you live in Christiansburg's response area and your uncle live in Blacksburg's response area and they're conversing about a call. And the person in Christiansburg said, yeah, they transported me to the hospital, and says, what Medicare paid the whole bill, and the person in Blacksburg, the sister or brother saying, honey, they do it free over here. They billed you or something. You can see how the scenes that happen. So maybe a couple of weeks and it will help these guys too, to inform people what's potentially could come.
I mean, it would be helpful if Joe could.
Right.
I don't want to commit you to Joe, but if Joe could be there at the public hearing.
Yeah.
It would
So if we had some questions that we couldn't answer.
I'd be happy to.
And I would like to, I guess, hear from Neil and his thoughts if that would be possible.
Sure.
He could come to the hearing?
Yeah.
Let's see if he could come.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, very much. The next item is an update on the state budget, and am I looking at Ms. Edmonds?
Guess you're going to talk about all that state money we're going to get.
All that good news we got today.
I think you're going to get more paper than state money.
Or is it on my iPad?
That was cool.
This ain't even paper, we can make fake money out of it.
You guys got, everybody got one?
So everybody got a copy. The governor issued his budget this morning, somewhere around 9:30. The documents, he did his speech and the documents were then posted. We are currently going through the detail, and as you well know, it comes in, if you print it out, it's in a great big document, trying to go through and translate what the amendments are to the fiscal year 14 biennial budget of the state. Earlier, Vicki had sent you in Dropbox, it was the presentation of the state budget director to the money committees, which is the macro look at the overview of what's going on at the state level. And so what our staff did today was try and go through as much as possible and pull out the things, that major highlights of things that would impact us here locally. There is a 2% raise for full-time state employees. That's been proposed for July 2013. What's also been included is a 2% raise for school standards of quality SOQ instructional positions. And while that sounds great, the state's really going to give us some money this time. You need to understand SOQ instructional positions versus the rest of the instructional staff, because the proposal does not include instructional support staff or other non-instructional positions. So it doesn't even provide funding for 2% for all of the instructional staff, much less all of the employees of the school division. The state funds about 705 SOQ instructional positions out of, when you include the instructional positions plus the non-support or the non-instructional support positions that go along with that, you're looking at 1,080. So you've got about 65% of that total pot that helps support instruction that the state will actually provide funding for. The increase for only SOQ instructional positions means that the state would be providing 700 for a 2% raise for 705 positions out of a total number of positions at the school of 1,460. So all in all, you're looking at getting monies of about 48% of the positions in the school division. The other piece of that is that overlaid on that is the composite index. So, and I think it's what's attached is a memorandum from the school superintendent to the school board members, which talks about the 2% and talks about other items in the budget that affect education. But in general, if it costs 2% to do SOQ positions, it costs, for your 2%, it costs $1 million. Once they overlay the local composite index on it, you're going to get 600,000, not $1 million from the state, because there'll be that local match on top of it. So I don't mean to get into the details of all of that. The school division's going to be, you know, sorting that out when they get their details from the Department of Education within the next 2 or 3 weeks. But the point I wanted to make, and I wanted to share what the superintendent had put together, is that while it may sound great that there's 2% money out there, or there's money for a 2% raise, there's only money for a 2% raise, less your local match, and for about 48% of the positions in the school division.
So, Carol, if I'm doing my math quickly and correctly, then that's roughly 20 25% or 30% for a 2% raise for the entire staff, school
I
staff?
have not done the math, but if you've done it, that's the concept.
Yeah.
Now,
Because it'd be 60% of half of the staff, roughly 705 out of 1460.
right, it's about 48%, then you overlay the composite index on it.
Yeah, so it's 60% of 48%.
60%
I
off
haven't done the
48%.
percentage.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's
I can't do it
about
off the top of my
30%, right?
head
No, that's all
anymore.
right. It's
But you get, that's the general concept, yes. While it sounds like 2% raises, it's not going to be enough money to do that for the entire school division by the time it gets down to the locality, which is not different from what is normally done. I just want to make sure everybody's clear when you hear percentage and you hear state dollars, that you understand that it doesn't mean that the schools are going to get enough money to do 2% for all of their employees from the state. That's not going to happen at where we are right now. There's also a new program that's been proposed. It's $15 million for what they're calling School Employee Strategic Compensation Grants. And the program, as written in the governor's budget, would provide incentive payments to teachers who meet eligibility criteria as established by the division. And the superintendent's put some more detail together in her memorandum about what that means and what would have to occur. She's also got some additional things in there that you may be interested in terms of what the state's requiring and what is available. The good news is the governor did eliminate the flexible cut, the $45 million that was scheduled to go back to the state in 2014. He has eliminated that for local governments. He has also provided, and for some reason a priority's been given to assistant Commonwealth attorneys, so there's $2.1 million to increase for a pay increase to assistant Commonwealth attorneys, and we'll have to see how that plays out from the compensation board and what that means for us. There's a $6.3 million included statewide for an increase to support per diem payments to local and regional jails. It's always good to get additional increases in support. My guess is $6.3 million isn't going to go very far. There's also some funds based on revenue bonds to do some grants for local stormwater assistance. Again, it sounds good. We'll have to see how that plays out when the details are presented. The governor's budget also shows, and what they show is the amount of money that in total from the state for education listed for 13 and the second year of the biennium 14. They're showing an increase in that of about 840-some thousand as their estimate. What I would say with that is let's hope that's what it turns out to be when the schools actually get the detail. And the way this works, as some of you already know, the Department of Education will be issuing specific detail now that the governor's budget's been issued, which will probably come out the next couple of weeks or so. With the holidays, it may be a little longer. And that will give you the exact detail based on the school division's average daily membership, by category, by all of the specifics. And that's what we're really waiting for and hoping that we can always hope there'll be more than $843,000, and that's what we'll hope for. We won't know till that detail's provided. And just some interesting facts I threw in here because I thought they were really interesting. They've taken $9 million from the literary fund in our current year, fiscal year 13, to cover retirement costs on the state side for school employees, but still the state share. State employee health insurance costs in fiscal year 14, they're costing $69.7 million. Which is a really big number when you compare it to everything else that's been added here. And so I'm not sure if it's an increase on plans or if it's because they didn't fully fund it in 14 when they set up the biennial budget and they're making up that difference. And just the last interesting fact, there's $2.4 million included for severance for employees in the governor's office and the cabinet, which I haven't seen before, but we'll see if that stays through the General Assembly. So that's all I have to present. That's all we were able to put together today. We'll be getting information left and right and going through it, and we'll share that with you as we get it.
Everybody digest that real well.
I guess that when we leave the board, you need to be working on some severance packages for us, the way the government's working.
Have you met me, Bill?
Huh?
Have you met me?
Can you just remind us of the schedule for the legislature? When do they convene?
The legislature convenes January 9th.
Okay.
Legislative day is the 30th or 31st of January. It'll come up quick. This is the short session, so they'll be there a little bit less time than they would normally. We will keep close tabs on what's going on and certainly let you know. You know, we realized last week when there was some discussion about the 2% raise for the teachers that there was some stuff underneath it that we would have to really sort through. And as you can see, it's not. I mean, it makes great headlines, but there's some details that.
There's so many people out there. I mean, so many. I guess. School employees, especially teachers, that do not understand the process. And the few that I've been around, they all have the perception that everybody's going to get like a 2% raise plus a match from whatever the school board does. So, well, we could end up getting 4%, you know. And I'm sitting there like, you got to read the fine print.
Just, I don't know if my math is correct, but I'm thinking that's roughly going to be about $2 million in local match to fund a 2% raise for the teachers. Maybe a little bit more than that. Right. So
Didn't Brenda say at one time a 1% raise was like $1.6 million?
Yeah.
She just in a memo, did it? In a memo.
She has in here that
I'm sorry.
the 2% salary increase for all employees in our school system is approximately $2 million.
Okay.
She has that right in the very beginning.
Thank you.
So we would have to come up with $2 million to match it. May I ask a question? Do we have to match the 2% or just what comes down after they get through doing everything?
Well, it'll depend on what happens at the end, as it always does.
Yeah, so my math is wrong.
As SOQ works, if it's $2 million for 2% for all the employees, because the state's only going to fund SOQ positions less your local match, you'll get $600,000 to pay $2 million. So anything over and above what the state provides in SOQ, you pay 100% for.
That's what I'm asking.
Yes. Now, again, these are just straight what we picked up today from when the budget was issued and what Brenda's looked at in terms of her memo. We'll be looking at this as we go all along, and again, we'll need to get the detail, the schools need to get the detail sheet to know what is actually out there in terms of proposal for all of the categories, not only SOQ, but the other categorical, and how that reflects your average daily membership, which is the driver for state funding for schools. So we've got a lot more stuff to wait for and more information to get before they have numbers to work with at this point.
Yeah, and I want to apologize that I was going off the 1.6. I didn't see the 2 million here for the 2% raise.
I think where I got the 1.6, I know I've seen something somewhere that a 2% raise for the teachers was 1.6. This
Maybe
is
it was a stepping.
This is 2 million.
Yeah.
Well, this is this is 2 million, and it says for all employees.
All employees.
Well, I think the 1.6 was your step, which isn't a full 2%.
Right, yeah, it was what it was.
Yeah. what I'm guessing. But again, I don't want everybody to get attached to all these numbers right now.
Because they're going to all
Because
change.
there's going to be a lot more that comes down once they're defined. Then it has to go to both houses of the General Assembly. So we well know that changes a lot during their course of looking at it. But that's sort of the first cut at where we are now.
I got a question if
Mary was
Okay, well, my only comment is that I guess this is reflective of what the governor's priorities and values are. That would be my comment on this. But where's transportation?
We haven't, we just haven't, it's not that there's not stuff in there, we just haven't dug through it and found and been able to translate what they're doing with it.
There was another, and I brought tons of stuff, but I can't find. There is a proposal. He is proposing to transfer some general fund money to the transportation budget.
So general fund money that pays for education and services that go to localities. We're going to transfer that to the transportation.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That just furthered the values then of what we're doing. Okay, no more questions.
Mr. Creed.
Yeah, I'm going to ask a question. I'm probably sure I know the answer before I ask it, but I want to make sure. I know that we are not able to tell the schools what to do with money. And my question is, does the state have the right to micromanage and tell the schools what to do with money?
Interesting. I don't know that they actually, I think they can provide an amount that would provide that amount of raise, but I don't know that they can tell them they have to give it, but they may. I think that's a question for the schools. We'll have to ask them.
I'd be interested in knowing that because we definitely, we know that we can't. And I just wondered if, how reaching their little throne are.
Very good.
May I read the number? According to this paper, $48.1 million in redirecting a portion of general fund sales tax revenue to transportation. $48.1 million.
What page?
That's in the governor's press release today.
It's a penny on the gas tax. Not 50 million per penny.
Yeah, it's
Again, this is the first cut at some things we pulled out. We will get more detail from the Department of Education as will the schools. We'll get an analysis probably from VACO. We'll get an analysis from BML, and we'll share more with you as we get the details through.
All right. Do I have a motion to go out of work session?
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Gabriel?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Chair Palettis?
Aye.
7 ayes.
All right, the next item is addendums, and I don't believe we have one tonight.
No, sir, we did not.
Okay. Consent agenda. Do I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to pull the Parks and Rec appropriation, please, out of the consent agenda. I'd like to pull the Parks and Rec appropriation out of consent agenda, please.
All right.
Parks and Rec. Okay.
What do we need to do there, Marty?
I think it's just taken out and it'll be dealt with separately.
Approve the consent agenda except for that. And then we'll add that as the first
Yeah, I need
item.
a motion with that, though, right?
No, I think any board member has that right to ask.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I just need a motion and
I need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion.
No, motion second to approve the consent agenda, but that's not including.
Right, right.
Without
We don't need a
the,
motion to take it
No.
off.
Right.
without the Parks and Rec.
Okay. We have a motion and a second? Yeah? Okay.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Gabriel?
Aye.
Chair Palettis?
Aye.
6 ayes.
And now we,
And then I'll make a motion to approve the Parks and Rec appropriation.
okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded?
Yeah, and I just,
Any
the
discussion?
reason that I wanted to pull it is because I wanted to highlight how underfunded our Parks and Rec department in the county has been, and I'm glad that we're able to use this money to fund some really needed programs. And I hope that in the coming budget season we can pay attention to this department especially, so that we can better serve our citizens in this area, because it's something that I think has been lacking for a long time in this county, and I'd like to see that kind of change. It's something we talked about in our long work session way back when, and so I hope we can back that up with some action in the coming year. And that was the only reason I wanted to do that. I'm fully in support of this, but I just wanted to make that clear that I hope that there will be more action in this area in the future.
Okay. Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Gabriel?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Chair Perez?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, the next item is old business. And it's an ordinance amending our parking. Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Gabriel?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Chair Perez?
Aye.
7 ayes.
And now we're on to new business. And the Western Virginia Regional Jail Authority appointments.
Mr. Chair, on this one, we do have the sheriff and the chief deputy is the alternate for the staff, for the sheriff's office position, myself and Ms. Edmonds as the staff, the appointees for the staff positions, I'm sorry. But we do need to confirm who you would like for the appointee and the alternate for the board. Currently, it's Supervisor Brown is the appointee and Supervisor Creed is the alternate.
Okay.
Ready for a motion?
Is that all right with everybody? Okay, need a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Gabriel?
Aye.
Chair Perez?
Aye.
7 ayes.
All right, the next item is a resolution of recognition for David and Lindsay West.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, is it possible that you could read this resolution for the matter of record and the people who may be watching at home and can see on their broadcast? I just believe David and Lindsay West have done so much in this county, and they continue to serve today, in civic organizations. It's not that long, and I just think some of the citizens out there need to hear a few things that David and Lindsay have done.
No, I'll be more than happy to
And I'll just
get
echo
through it if it's all right.
Sorry. And I'll just echo what Mr. Brown said. They are tremendous, active citizens in District G and throughout the entire county.
All right. The resolution reads as, Resolution of recognition for David and Lindsay West. Whereas David and Lindsay West moved to Montgomery County in 1962 when David joined the faculty at Virginia Tech and immediately became involved in the community. Whereas since 1962, David and Lindsay West have served Montgomery County for 50 years in numerous capacities, and whereas these years of service have been marked by exemplary dedication to the best interests of the community, and David and Lindsay West have worked constantly for the betterment of Montgomery County's economic, culture, and aesthetic development, and whereas in fulfilling a desire to give back to her community, Lindsay West served as a member of the Board of Montgomery County Supervisors from 1975 to 1987, and during her tenure devoted her time and interest to concerns of the citizens of Montgomery County. And whereas Lindsay West has provided leadership to the county's social services efforts, the New River Community Action, and was instrumental in helping from the Community Foundation, and whereas David West dedicated his professional life as a faculty member of Virginia Tech Biology Department and has contributed to the promotion of wilderness trails, preservation of hiking trails, and national forest areas. And whereas David and Lindsay West were instrumental in the renovation of the Lyric Theater and have been actively committed and involved in the arts in the community, and whereas David and Lindsay West have been active in the advancement of civil rights in the town of Blacksburg and Montgomery County for almost 5 decades, and whereas David and Lindsay West have devoted their lives to the betterment of Montgomery County and have earned the respect and admiration of all our citizens, their wholehearted dedication to numerous projects, and whereas the Board of Supervisors desires to publicly recognize and show their appreciation to David and Lindsay West for the great impact they have made on our community, not only for the past 50 years, but for many years to come. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County, Virginia, do hereby recognize David and Lindsay West for their dedication and their leadership for the past 50 years in making Montgomery County a better community. Be it further resolved that the original of this resolution presented to David and Lindsay West, and would a copy be part of the official minutes of Montgomery County.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chairman, this will be presented to the Wests at a ceremony on December 27th. Their family has arranged a reception for them for their 50 years of service to the county, and this will be part of that presentation.
I want to just
and I think all the board members have been invited to that at the Lyric Theater.
Yes.
And following that, there's going to be a showing of Lincoln, which I have not seen yet, but I've heard nothing but good things about it.
It's very good.
Well, you won't have to pay when you see it, okay?
Pardon?
You won't have to pay when you see it. That's a part of the reception.
But I'm going to have to read that resolution again.
I just want to comment on how well written the resolution is. It captures what they were all about, and I just want to personally say I enjoyed watching Lindsay the years I got to see her as a Board of Supervisor member. I came to a lot of the meetings back then when she was on the board, and she was a dynamic Board of Supervisor member as well as chair of the Board of Supervisors. So, and Dave has just done a great job with the trails and the wilderness. So this is very well written, very well.
That was our
well
clerk.
done.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Gabriel?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Chair Palettis?
Aye.
7 ayes.
All right, subject C is a resolution to recognize the Auburn High School girls volleyball team. And I believe are we going to present that here, or
We can.
wasn't that the intent?
I think we passed it and would see can we get them to attend.
Come to a future meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Future meeting, yeah.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Gabriel?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Chair Palettis?
Aye.
7 ayes.
And then we have a resolution to recognize the Blacksburg High School boys and girls cross country team for their state championship.
So moved.
Second.
And again, I believe we'll
Well,
do
hopefully
this.
we can do them both at the same time.
Yeah, we'll
do have that
If
group
you
come
can
first,
do
that group
Yes,
come
sir.
afterwards. Yeah.
Very good. Got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Gabriel?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Chair Palettis?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, the next item is the county attorney's report.
No report, Mr. Chair.
County administrator's report.
Just a couple of items, Mr. Chair. First off, I want to mention that our public hearing for the for suggested input for the fiscal year 2013-2014 budget, if you can believe that, is scheduled for Monday night, January 14th. Now, there'll be lots of other opportunities during the process to have input on the budget, But part of the process is we have to have a formal public hearing each year for input from citizens, and that is scheduled for Monday, January 14th. So those that may want to come out for that are welcome to. Again, that'll just be an opportunity to receive input on what citizens would like to see in the upcoming budget. I do want to mention to you that we have our first of 2 strategic planning sessions for our tourism initiative, and that will be tomorrow from 8 o'clock until noon. I think we've got about 60 folks participating. It will be held at the Cross Point Conference Center. Lisa Bleakley, who is our tourism director, has worked very hard to get a very good cross-section of community folks to attend, to start soliciting input. Randy Rose from the Virginia Tourism Authority, who's over basically Southwest Virginia, will be helping facilitate that tomorrow, so it'll be a good opportunity to really put a strong foundation under where we're going with our tourism efforts. So we're really excited about that. And the only other thing I wanted to mention to everyone is I hope everybody has a great Christmas and a Happy New Year. I can't believe it's that time of year, but it's here.
Okay. Supervisor Tuck.
Gentlemen, I have a tip for all of you, and that is simply that about 10 years ago, I would always try to wrap my own Christmas packages. It looked like something that Oscar the Grouch had tried to put together. Okay, just a failure. And then I found this little booth real close to Belk's, and they do the wrapping for you. And 100% of the proceeds go to the Montgomery County Emergency Assistance Program. And for the last 10 years, that's where I take my packages. And my wife is that much happier. And it's so, gentlemen, I give you that suggestion, and I wish all of you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
And they do a wonderful job there, too.
They do a
They sure do, because the
Wonderful
lady
organization.
used to be the receptionist downstairs, is one of the volunteers. Anna.
Yeah.
Anna, yeah, they wrapped, I don't know, I guess 95% of hours. Wow.
Okay, Supervisor Brown.
Okay, a couple things. The first thing, on December 8th, I had an opportunity to attend the 2nd annual awards banquet at the Roanoke Rescue Squad dinner on December 8th. A couple of facts I want to share with you all this evening. About 2 years ago, we, I guess, as a board, authorized the independence of the Roanoke Squad from the Christiansburg Squad. At the time of their inception, they had 19 volunteers out in that area. At the dinner I found out the other night, they have doubled in size, and they have 38 volunteers. And they responded to, that was up until December the 8th, they have responded to 357 calls out in that area. I did congratulate them for their efforts on behalf of this board. Secondly, is that the New River and Mount Rogers Workforce Investment Board has entered into an agreement with the Office of Economic Development at Virginia Tech. This agreement has to do with a skills gap analysis for the 13 participating jurisdictions. It's going to, I guess, cost the board probably about, the total study is going to be about $72,000, but in partnering with Tech, they're going to fund about $18,000 of that. But I have a copy of the proposal and the scope of the work that I'm going to give to Mr. Meadows so he can share, you guys should share it with you all. Once the skills gap analysis is completed, in that proposal there, they will come to the 13 jurisdictions and make presentations on their findings. Serving on that skills gap committee with a gentleman from Grayson County and Pulaski County, and I don't know whether you all know Marty Holliday, but she's very up to tune today on that. But we wanted a study that would help focus the training skills in these 13 jurisdictions. They're going to involve K through 12, healthcare industries. It's just getting people involved and so forth to come up with a product that we could use, not a product that we can just put on the shelf and let it collect dust. Second thing is the Western Virginia Emergency Medical Service Council. I brought their annual report, and been on this board for about 5 years, I had no idea what they done. And you look through this report and you say, like, Montgomery County, and it's like, well, I didn't know we had something to do with it. But we have members and representatives from this area here. Captain Cole, Chief Cole from Christiansburg is Montgomery County representative. I think it's Lieutenant Ricky Hodge. I've seen several people that I knew at the meeting last week, but I thought I'd bring their annual report to share it with you also. The fourth thing is that I want to say thank you to our county staff that was involved in our county conversations. I think they worked diligently to put information together to make those 4 sessions that we had out in the county successful. We may not have had the numbers that we wanted to have, but I believe it was a start. We got an opportunity to meet some people, to hear from them, and to disseminate some information. We also found out that there was a lot of, I guess, misunderstanding of how county government works and so forth, and hearing some ideas of how we could sort of raise money and so forth. And so there was a lot of two-way communications. There was communications with citizens from my staff, with citizens from this board. And I just want to say thank you, and your fine work has not been gone unnoticed by this board. That is Carl, Marty, Craig, Ruth, and I think Leanne Carroll was at one night when Ruth couldn't make it. And just say that you guys went above and beyond the duty, the call of duty. Thank you. And to say your dedicated service is appreciated and making Montgomery County a special place to live. I say best wishes to all of our county employees. Thank you for another great year of service to our citizens. May your holiday be filled with joy, and the coming year be overflowing with all good things that life have to offer. That's it. And same to you guys.
Can we just second that?
Yeah, you can second that. Third,
it just puts so well.
Yeah.
Third and fourth.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Biggs.
All right, well, it was with great sadness last week that Neil Turner decided that he had so much to do that he needed to resign from the New River Valley Community Services Board, and I'll tell you that the board members were very sad. And so now we need to find someone, a citizen, to come forth from Montgomery County to apply for this job. And this particular board meets the fourth Thursday of each month at 7 o'clock on University Boulevard at the Community Services Building there in Blacksburg. It's a group that works well together, and they're involved in looking at mental health policies. And after what happened on Friday, I think everyone can see how critical that might be. So I would encourage any citizens out there that think they might be interested to apply. It will be advertised. Which leads me to what was brought up as far as the proclamation and the gentleman that came. In the past, we've always sent our condolences to areas where something has happened. I know we did that with Columbine, and I assume that we will do it from everyone. But I think I would be remiss if I didn't say something as an elementary teacher how sickening I felt Friday. And how when I went to school today and I was with my children and I saw them, how emotional that was. And how every day, every single day in our county, school employees go to school and ensure the safety of the children of Montgomery County. And the law enforcement that I saw at my school today made me feel good just in the early morning. I agree with the gentleman out there. I think that, you know, something has to be done. I don't know what our board can actually do, but there is no need to be having, in my personal opinion, assault weapons for hunting. I think that this was probably really the last straw for a lot of people when you're going to go shoot up 6, 7, 8-year-olds, and the President of the United States has a hard time making a speech. I think it's all something that we need to talk about and think about. And I just personally want to say that our school people go in every single day doing their job, and they've been through the lockdowns. They've been through the Virginia Tech situation and tried to keep our children safe. And we owe them a great gratitude, debt of gratitude for what they do day in and day out. And I think that needed to be said tonight. It sort of leaves me, and I hate to say it, sort of like a downer. I do want everyone to have a happy holiday, and staff and our board members, but I think that what has happened in our country sort of also should give us pause over the holidays. And those first responders in our own county, our teachers, our school personnel, and then our citizens, and also back to the citizens of Connecticut, just to show you how personally this even affected. We have a teacher at our school, and her sister works with one of the parents in Newton, Connecticut, that lost her first grade daughter. And her sister was having a hard time going to work today because she knew when she went in there, the last thing they had discussed was the Christmas card picture of the little girl that was going to be on the Christmas card. That's how all we are interrelated. It is a small world, and it affects everyone. And so I just felt compelled that I need to make a statement about it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Perkins?
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Biggs. Of course, my whole life has been spent at schools too, as far as my career is concerned. And I'd like to echo everything you say, or you've said. I too have been through the lockdowns. I've been through the incident at Virginia Tech. I had a school resource officer with me at the time. While I was in Christiansburg, I was not as close to the Virginia Tech campus as you were. But at the same time, we had no idea who, where, when, or why this was happening. My son and I had a very long conversation yesterday about this, and I said when I first started teaching, it never occurred to me that schools were not safe. I absolutely never thought about it. I knew I could go in there, I knew I could teach my children, and things would be fine. There were no school resource officers because we didn't need them. And then when I came back to the school system as an assistant principal and a principal, I think a lot of things had changed. We went through Columbine and a lot of other things. And I don't mean to be maudlin, but I do remember that I was very concerned at the middle school and talked at length, when I was principal there at Christiansburg Middle School, talked at length with the superintendent to please put some cameras in our schools. At first it was some people were suggesting it for vandalism. But I felt very, the way the school was designed, I could not see. My office was not so that it was visible and not so that I could see people who came in. And we had every door locked to outsiders except the front door. And my resource officer went every day, at least 3 or 4 times a day, and checked those doors to be sure that they were all locked from the outside. We did install cameras, particularly at the entranceways. And of course, as a teacher and a principal, and Ms. Biggs has too, been through many lockdowns. We've been through many bomb scares. We've evacuated our schools. So we've had those similar kinds of things right here in our own area. But I still think that our school people are doing everything they can to keep our children safe. Everything that's possible. And I will never forget that day for the Virginia Tech massacre that my resource officer came to me at 9:35 and said, "Ms. Perkins, we have a terrible situation at Virginia Tech." And he began to explain to me what was happening. And his mic was open and I could hear what was going on. So I do want to say that I agree with everything that Ms. Biggs said. And I am totally, I really think she's right in saying that this is the straw that sort of breaks the camel's back. And I think it's just that we now have to go to action. But I do also know that it's useless to say that you can prevent all of these things or you can't prevent all those things. It really doesn't matter. What you have to do is do what you have to do to keep your children safe. And that's where we need to go in our county. And we have a wonderful former police chief here that I'm sure spent many days in anguish thinking about what could happen and what did happen. But just the same as what happened in Newtown, everybody in this county came together to help. And sadly enough, I think over and over and over again, we heard on the TV this past week about Virginia Tech. I think it came on every single day, 3 or 4 times a day, reminding us that post-traumatic stress syndrome comes years after, can come months after, can come years after. And one of the young people who was on the television was Colin Goddard, who now works as assistant director of the Brady Foundation and Brady Group. And he was one of the young men who was shot, 3 bullets in his body at the Virginia Tech massacre. But he was on even this morning talking about what needs to happen from this point on. So while we are at a time of joy and celebration for the holidays, not only just a massacre because it's happened 3 or 4 times recently, but also we know that across the country, as Mayor Blumenthal said, every day thousands of Americans lose their lives, children on street corners even. So I just felt that I needed to second what Ms. Biggs said, and I need to talk about the experiences that we have where the staff, the faculties, every single person that was in my school that day the tech thing occurred was absolutely perfect and was a help for what happened. And I think that we can always do more, but our children are our very most and our very first priority when we're in school. Can't be any other way. And I go back to thinking that I thank those people for all that they did when I was there, and how traumatic it was, not only for my students, because many of them were touched by family members that were involved in that horrible massacre. So I cannot, as a parent, I cannot even fathom what those parents are feeling at this point in time. So I would like to also say thank you to our staff for the nice employee dinner that we had.
Thank you.
The food was wonderful. I know they put in a lot of work, a lot of time and energy. Some of our people got really good prizes in the drawing. I won't mention the names, but they're sort of sitting over here to the left of me. But anyway, it was a very nice evening, and I had one of the employees come up to me and thank me, and she said to me, "Ms. Perkins, I really don't get to go very many things." She said, "So I came tonight and I brought my daughter, and it's just wonderful." So I just felt really good about that, because she's a very hard worker, and she was so excited that she could attend that employee event. So thank you, Craig, for your help and support, and for everybody who participated in it. And like the rest of you, I wish you a very happy holiday, a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. And we'll see you again, hopefully, in January.
Mr. Creed.
Okay, I don't have a whole lot, but I would like to kind of follow up on what has been said here for the people who live in Newtown. All the citizens, all the parents, the relatives, the brothers, the sisters. And it seems that for some reason we all wait till we have some kind of a horrific event before we offer up a prayer for the people that might need it all around this United States and this world. And I really don't understand why we do that, why we don't every day. If you can't do it every day, every week, but set some time aside to ask the blessings that can only come from our God. So, with that, I say to you and to everyone that may be listening now here that I wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas and a joyful New Year. Thank you.
Mr. Gabriel?
Yes, a couple of things. First of all, of course, Happy New Year to all the staff and to you all, and Happy Holidays. Just a quick update. I attended the school board meeting, I guess not last week, but the week before. They're only meeting during December. Not too much was discussed there. They were going to talk a little bit more about the money that was put aside in reserve for the Christiansburg High School, but decided ultimately not to discuss it. But apparently Chairman Jones was going to discuss it with Mr. Politis, so perhaps you might have a little bit more information. They didn't talk about it at all there. I did want to alert you, however, to a couple of upcoming events that were publicized at the school board meeting. On January the 4th at Virginia Western Community College at 12 p.m. There's going to be a public hearing on the governor's budget. So if you want to let your constituents know about that meeting, those are all sorts of comments are welcome there. And then on January the 19th, the Blacksburg Community Center, I believe it's the NAACP, is going to be sponsoring a public conversation on race in Montgomery County, and so all are of course welcome to that as well. That's at 10 a.m. too, and I'll be happy if you want to send out those dates to you as well. And then back to the unfortunate theme of the conversation about the recent shootings and the massacre in Newtown. I would ask as well, when we send our little letter of condolence, which I believe we're going to do, is to not forget about the community in Clackamas County in Oregon as well, which only a week or two beforehand lost several of their members in a mall shooting there. It seems, well, it doesn't seem, it is too often that these types of things are happening. And I would hope, and I would ask personally, that some language be included, as Mr. Faulkner suggested, condemning and recognizing the horrific damage that assault weapons and especially high-capacity magazine clips can do in these situations. Because we all do know something of what happened in our community as well. So we all experienced it in our own ways. I was on Virginia Tech campus on April 16th of 2007, and I lost colleagues and I lost students that day. And we all have our stories, and things change. They don't get better, but they change. And what's happening in Newtown, I'm sure, will change. And as I think Ms. Biggs and Ms. Perkins were saying, is that the time for speaking has passed and it's time for action. Because the next time this happens, it's too many. It was too many last time. It was too many the time before that. It was too many the time before that. And so at what point do we finally say enough? And I think that we should commit ourselves to doing whatever we can, and that includes caring about mental health services, which funding for mental health services was cut in the governor's budget, I'd like to point out, being released almost immediately after the horrific events here. And I hate to end on such a downer, because this is exactly what's going on, but this is the pressing issue of our day right now. And I will simply remind everyone who's watching that we as a board are caring about this, each individually and collectively, and we will, I hope, or at least I will do whatever I can to correct the situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I just want to echo most of what's been said around here this evening. I think we have had a very strong year in county government this year, but we've had a lot of ups and downs. This last weekend has been very, very hard on everybody here. I think about my grandkids going to school here in a couple of years, and fortunately my kids are done, but there's many more to go through. I feel like we do what we can. Safety-wise, in pretty good shape, but it's hard to stop everything, I think. One of the things I'll address about Mr. Jones and my conversation was very brief. We didn't have our meeting that we would normally have in the month of December, but the issues that were brought up in Christiansburg Elementary School were taken care of immediately. And they do respond to safety issues as quickly as they find out about them. So that's a good thing. It's going to be a hard time to get through for the folks up in Newtown and a lot of our folks here who have relatives and family up in that area and co-workers. And my mother lived just a few miles from there when I was young in Stamford, Connecticut. And I don't have any people we know up there anymore, but I know the area a little bit, and it's just as fine and quiet as a community as you're going to find anywhere, much like our Christiansburg and Blacksburg and, Montgomery County area. And things can happen anywhere. I don't know the answers, but I know there needs to be the discussion. And all we can do is keep everyone in our prayers and hope they can get through this, but it's going to be a tough, tough Christmas for all of them, and I think we're going to do the best we can to have a good one, and I thank you for the year, all the citizens, all the staff.
Thank you.
All you've done, you work very hard for us, and things have been mentioned individually, and no sense in going into those again, but I agree with them 100%. And just want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and keep you all in our prayers. Thank you.
Jim, and I don't know if we want to talk about the resolution that has been discussed, is sitting up there, and at the same time, I'd rather do it open and talk about what we want to have in it, rather than try to email it back and forth, but do it in front. I haven't had the life experiences that Matt had. He was over on the campus. He lost people on April 16th. But I have some pretty strong beliefs in regards to gun ownership and gun rights. I want to make sure that we send a resolution saying, I haven't been able to watch TV because, and when my parents had it on when I went to visit, I left the room because I couldn't take it. But at the same time, I guess, and I know that Bill has seen the face of evil at times. I think of the Luger murders. And I've had people sitting across from me, I've had people threaten to kill me before. But I guess when I look at what my beliefs are, I would much rather see our focus be on taking care of their needs if they need anything, than at this point in time going towards gun control. I may be on the minority and I may be the only one on the board that feels that way. But at this point in time, I would ask the resolution primarily deal with anything that they need that we could do. And maybe we shouldn't be discussing it now, but I didn't want to say, here's the resolution, and then start sending an email around saying I don't feel comfortable about it.
My understanding from the discussion we've had tonight is that we're going to offer a letter of condolence and support to the communities, but unless I've misread it, I'm not planning on trying to develop any resolution at this point.
We've always sent a letter of condolence from the board members and the county administrator. It's a letter. This, what you're talking about, is a whole different discussion.
Okay. I wanted to make sure I wasn't sure where we were going.
Right.
And at the same time, I wanted to be respectful to my fellow board members and their life experiences. And just because I hold a point of view on an issue doesn't mean that they hold the same point of view, and doesn't mean that they've had the same life experiences I have. I'm perfectly willing to discuss it. But I just wanted to, before the letter went out. So thank you for clarifying it.
Chris, you know, from my background, you know where I come from when it comes to guns, you know, and I guess I've always operated in this way, that guns don't kill people, people kill people. And what I'm hoping for, is there are going to be so many psychologists, so many security, FBI, and there's so many people is going to study that situation out there, and then the recommendations that come out of there for other schools, you know, in similar circumstances across the United States that may follow. Here's an example. Columbine changed the whole response of law enforcement. That incident out there, it was looked at, and it's just, hey, we've been training wrong, or we've been responding improperly over the years. The whole thing now is just like the way I was trained originally. Go to the scene, secure it, and until some other people got there. The first 3 or 4 people that get to the scene nowadays at the Columbine, they team up. All of them's got the same training. They go in and shut the shooter down, get them in a corner somewhere or so forth. Not sit out there and you keep hearing shots going off in the school. And so what I try to learn from these situations is that the recommendations that's going to come out, I was listening to this psychologist or psychologist today, I believe, and and the news reporter asked him about how do you, when people are a little bit off, a little bit this way, how do you, he says, well, we have a whole lot of people out there that's a little bit off that will never do anything like this. But then you have a few out there that will, and you can't differentiate from the two. So in what he was saying there and asking this board to take a position on automatic weapons, I didn't feel comfortable taking that position as a board on automatic weapons.
Nobody needs that.
Okay, perhaps I misunderstood.
If there's nothing else, meeting is adjourned. Everybody have a Merry Christmas.